My son, not the goalie, the businessman who makes these soft touch PS5 controllers, he asked me to 3D print some stands, some different types so he could try it out. And in the process, I modified one in Tinkercad, so I'll show you how I did that. I also added his logo to the front in multicolor print, so I'll show you all this and how it worked out and get your opinion on what you like on today's Filament Friday. Here's the first one he showed me. It's called the DualSense PS5 stand from User Referential. Then he showed me the PlayStation Controller Stand from Afro Psycho. And the final one was this PS5 Controller Stand from Ethan Johnson. This is the one he kind of liked, and this is the one he wanted me to modify to see if we could put his logo on the front. The first thing I did is I printed each one in a white PETG on my Prusa Core 1L, and they all came out pretty nice. The one he liked that he wanted to put his logo on was actually an easy print, printed really quick. But what I didn't like is it's easy to tip over. So the first thing I did was brought it into Tinkercad, and I want to see if I can put a little platform in the back to stop it from tipping over. So what I did is laid it on its side like this, and then I made a duplicate of it, and I made a mirror version. So then I brought the duplicate over, and then I brought a hole block, and I'm going to actually take part of this thing apart. So what I'm going to do is put the hole over the top of this thing, bring it up, and then just group that together. So all I'll have is the bottom base. And then what I could do is just put this base into the other one, but I didn't want it as long. So I made a duplicate of that, and I'm going to use two pieces here with two hole blocks to make the one shorter piece that I want. So I got the exact same curve, and then I got the exact same tip. And then I could bring the curved part into the base just like this, line them up, just using a lineup tool, and then the tip, which rounds nicely, put that on the end. So now I have a tab going out the back or a base going out the back similar to the one that goes out the front. I grouped this whole thing together, brought it back standing up, and now I had the platform that I like with a lip in the back to stop it from tipping over that I didn't like. I exported the .stl into Bamboo Studio because I'm actually going to print this on an A1. A multicolor A1 or a combo, but right now I'm going to do single color. So I put it on its side, which makes it easy to print this thing. And I just want to see how well it turns out. Does the stand actually work better from preventing it from tipping over? And I printed at a 0.28 layer height because this doesn't have to be perfect. And I also added 3 walls just to make it a little stronger. After slicing it, it said it would take just over an hour. So in 1 hour and 17 minutes, everything looked good. And here's the result. It looks really nice. It's got that pad at the back. And when I tried to tip this over, this thing would not go. I smacked on it and it would just pop right back in place. So that worked. Next, he gave me a .svg version of his logo, and I brought that into Tinkercad so I could work with it. I used a hole block right on the front surface to take off the existing logo, the PS5 logo, so I'd have a nice smooth surface. And then I could bring his CrazyControllerz logo up, resize it, and shape it to fit in that same location. Then I used the alignment tool to make sure this thing was centered, or the logo was centered to the stand. And then from there, I just needed to recess this a little bit so it goes into the STL file. So it was off by 0.74, so I sunk it in -1 millimeter. So now it's solidly inside of it. But I'm not grouping the whole thing together. I'm just grabbing both of them, basically 2 separate STLs as a group, and export that. I printed it in one color with the same settings as before, and it looked pretty good. The CrazyControllerz is pretty easy to read. It's not perfect. But overall, this was fine. It took just over an hour to print. But now I wanted to try it in 2 color. Now, once I'm in Bamboo Studio, I can right-click and say split into parts, and that will separate his logo and actually pieces of his logo and the base itself. And this allows me to change the color. So I can go just to the base, change that to the blue, and now his whole logo is in red and the base is in blue. And I can slice this. And laying down like this, though, it takes over 6 hours to print. So I'm like, I got to find a better way to do this. And if I laid it like this on an angle, it was 2 hours and 9 minutes. So significant savings. And it'd be an interesting test of the CryoGrip Bed, because if you look at this thing, it's barely grabbing at those 2 starting points, and then it builds from there. So theoretically, this should work. And the CryoGrip Bed that I'm talking about, you can get it on Amazon. I'll put a link to it in the description below. It's amazing how well this thing holds a print. And here it is printing on the A1. It's grabbing on both sides. Look at the angle this thing is still supporting. So I thought this was going to work great, but when it was done, there was some sagging and it turned out terrible. So I knew this wasn't the way to go. So I went back to Bamboo Studio to try again. So this time I positioned it with the logo flat or level and then used supports, tree supports. Now, I don't love supports. It never works out great, but it took 2 hours and 25 minutes, and here's the results. And the tree supports are usually easy to tear off, and in this case, they were. What I don't like is the residue that they sometimes leave. I mean, you got to get the settings perfect, and I use the default settings in Bamboo Studio, and it worked on the points, but on this back side right here, it didn't work well at all. You can see that it's really good on the front, but in the back, it's really rough. This is where most of the supports were. I probably could improve this with fewer supports. But I thought, if I get rid of that extra base at the back that he didn't really ask for and go back to this one that can actually tip over. So that's what I did. I took my design flap out and then I could print it flat like this. And that's what I did. And it still took like an hour and a half to print this. So not bad at all. You can get his controllers on Amazon. I'll put a link to it in the description below. But let me know which controller you like in the comments below. I want to give a big shout out to my Patreon supporters. Because of your support, sometimes I don't even have to get sponsors. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. And here's a few other videos you might like. If you want to help support the channel, Patreon's the best way to do it. And if nothing else, click on that logo and subscribe. I'll see you next time right here at Chuck Hellebuck's Electronic Products and Filament Friday.